It was a gorgeous, sunny winter day. Although I have to say, I wish it wasn't sunny. I was here to photograph red-headed woodpeckers and whatever else I could find. And of course the forecast had called for overcast skies. And you can see that didn't happen. The sun was less than ideal for what I wanted to photograph, but I was there and I was going to see what I could find anyway. Thankfully at some point the clouds did start to roll in and soften the light up. It was pretty cool. You could see the snag littered with holes from the woodpeckers. And if you looked carefully, you could even see some acorns stuffed in some of the cavities. It wasn't long before a friendly little Carolina chickadee came over. And it was so cool to see it feeding on the top of this pine, looking for seeds in there. Look at him go. He was really digging at that thing. And he was really close too, which was cool. There were some other chickadees around as well. And then off he went. Then I started paying attention to these Carolina wrens. He was out a little bit far, but an interesting composition made it a decent photo. And then a flock of dark-eyed juncos dropped into my left. You can hear their little chip calls. So I really wanted one of them to get up higher. Right now you can see it's way too branchy. I took a shot just to show you, but it's just none of the birds really stand out. So I was waiting for him to move up like this, and I wanted one to go up to one of those higher branches on the right. But they didn't want to cooperate. So that was the best I could get. Neat to see them, but nothing really worth sharing. And then off they went. And then it was time to zero in on the red-headed woodpeckers again. There's one way up in the tree. And this is how I see them most of the time at this location. Way up in the trees. And I did find another Carolina wren singing out, but he was really far away. And so I figured, let's see if we can get closer. Sorry about the up angle on this one. I didn't have my camera set right and it kept pointing up. But you can see it's a nice open wooded habitat, and this is how far he was away to start out with. Really tiny in the frame. And of course, the sun had popped out at this point, so tough light to deal with. But he was staying on that branch for a while, so I figured, let's see if I can get closer. And I just slowly stalked and kept trying to move to the right so I could get the light to be a little bit better direction, have less shadows on the bird. You can see on the left side of everything, including the bird, there's just a heavy dark shadow. I really took my time and tried not to move in too quick, and then just kept checking to see what it looked like and make sure as long as the bird was still preening, he was kind of busy and distracted, and so I was able to keep moving in. That's a funny pose on that one, at least. So let's see how close we can get. I was trying not to move too fast, and then anytime he would stop preening, I would kind of stop, try not to move too much, wait for it to start preening, move again. Alright, time to check, see what he's doing. Here we go. It's getting a little bit better on the light, but still nothing that great. These birds are so funny. They have such a personality. Look at them. Posturing. The wind blowing them. It's so funny. I kept bouncing back and forth, trying to face whichever way he was, but he kept going back and forth, so I just gave up and kept it composed on one direction and waited for him to turn that way. There we go. I did keep specifically placing him in openings between the background trees. So you can see he's in a little bit of that green, because I didn't want any of those brighter spots behind him. You can see I did an offset here with the out of focus dark tree in the foreground. Don't really like it, but I was trying different things to see what worked. So again, as I was moving in, I'm watching the bird, and then I was also really paying attention to the background. Whenever I would stop, I was stopping where the background was distant and clean behind him. And then it was just a matter of waiting for him to turn his head just the right direction. There we go. Lighting's getting a little bit better, but still heavy shadows. The leaves look really crunchy. Just nothing great there. But I'm getting closer. I ended up using this tree to hide behind, so he couldn't see me getting closer, and then I just leaned out and peeked at him. And then missed focus, but I fixed that. And then the problem I didn't see is this light tree behind him. So that bright band of that tree getting hit with sun wasn't great. So then I started creeping back in, trying to minimize that. I tried to get his attention, but he never turned his head just right, so I figured, let's see if I can get him on the right side of the tree. And before I could move over there and peek out, he took off. But then I looked off in the distance and saw a red-headed woodpecker nice and low. Horrible light, but he was low. So it was time for another stalk. Hard to be stealthy on crunchy dead leaves. This would have been a good time for it to be real windy. It would have masked my sound. Let's check in on him again. Alright, really bad background, all those trees right behind him. Time to move on again. So again, it was paying attention, watching the head. As long as the head was scanning and moving around, I feel like he wasn't locked in on me, so I kept moving in. Anytime he really kind of froze or stopped moving his head, that's when I would stop. And just like the Carolina wren before, using trees to block my movement, and then also paying attention to the background behind him. Alright, there we have a little bit of better separation, but there's that one small, dark, kind of little tree coming in right below him. That's a little distracting. So I'm going to make another move, try and get a little bit closer. I had to pause for just a minute, make sure he was not zeroed in on me. And then I was able to keep moving in. It's always a fun challenge doing these stalks like this. I generally don't have much cover, and I figure they're going to catch me sooner or later. But I just take my time and really watch the bird. That's an important thing. Watch its behavior to know when to move and when not to move. There we go. Better background. He's looking not a great direction. Now we got something. Small in frame, light's harsh, but again, doing the absolute best that I can here. If only all those clouds would have come over right then and give me nice soft light, I would have had a chance to get something interesting. But that's how it goes. You do the best you can with what you have, and so I kept moving in. I figured if I could get a better angle around to the right a little bit more, I might be able to do something interesting if I got just the right background on this bird. Let's check again. There we go, he's in that nice dark spot. Not too bad. This is my normal approach to birds like this. It's move a little bit, check, take a shot if it's worth it. Move a little bit, check, take a shot. Watch, he's going to dip down to the ground there. So now he's feeding, which is great. And then working back up the tree. So I'll stop and check him out when he comes back up. He's kind of on the other side, and then he'll peek out. There we go. Can just barely see him. Drop the exposure compensation. Now we got something that's not bad considering the lighting. Darker background. I went 2 stops under on the exposure comp here because I did not want to overexpose those whites. That was really important. Plus, it helped make the background darker. And when he sticks his head out just right, boom, I get an interesting shot. Listen, this is not amazing lighting here by any means, but I think it's about the best I could have done with this situation. Let's see if he gives me another good head angle. There we go. I like that one. Just that bright red head standing out in a sea of brown. And then he starts working his way up another tree. I tried to do something with the foreground there, but the background was just too branchy, and again, the light, harsh, the shadows everywhere. It just never worked out, and then he took off. Moved right over to this tree, and now it's just, again, really hard shadows. Nothing real pleasing here. Not much else I could do with that. They are such a beautiful bird, though. Then I moved to another area, found another red-headed woodpecker. This was a juvenile. He didn't have the real bright red head. And then there was some other birds mixed in. Song sparrow was bouncing around. That was cool to see, but just stayed in the brush like this. Never really came out. Didn't get any shots of this species. Carolina wrens were constantly calling. then I almost got this chickadee, but I missed focus. I caught the branch there, and by the time I got on the bird, he left. He comes up to the next branch. Again, I'm going to do some positive exposure compensation, and he's gone. So just kept missing him. And then he finally stays on this branch for just long enough for me to get a photo, and it's a pretty bad branch. Ugly branch, not a good photo. Nothing worth sharing there. That was pretty much it for my outing. Nothing great, but a fun day to be out.